We saw the champions, we saw the bands, we saw the cheerleaders, we saw the fans. They say on any given Saturday it's possible to win. So let's talk about the season from the start to the end. We saw the champions, we saw the bands, we saw the cheerleaders, we saw the fans. They say on any given Saturday it's possible to win. So let's talk about the season from the start to the end.
Hello everyone, the No Huddle is back and it's time to pass out some championship trophies. And that invitation list to the Celebration Bowl is getting smaller and smaller. About 5 teams still in the running for a trip to Atlanta. So where do we begin this week's show? Let's start in Salem, Virginia, where the game is a hot matchup between Bowie State University and Fayetteville State. They're doing it once again in Salem, where it was quite chilly. I mean, just look at our DeLon Sellers all bundled up. Hey, DeLon.
It was a rematch of the 2018 CIAA Championship with the Bowie State Bulldogs and the Fayetteville State Broncos. It wasn't the prettiest game offensively for either team. Bowie State did, however, get off to a strong lead. Fayetteville State started to claw back in the second half. However, Bowie State finished with a 23-7 victory in the back-to-back CIAA championships.
Round 2 between the Bowie State Bulldogs and the Fayetteville State Broncos. The teams came in with 2 completely different objectives. The Bulldogs were looking to go back-to-back, and the Broncos were looking for the charm in their 3rd straight appearance. BSU won the toss but deferred to the Broncos, and the Bulldogs came out the gate showing exactly what type of day it was going to be. Big defense. The Broncos' first drive was taken over by a BSU scoop and score fumble recovery to take an early 7-0 lead. The Bulldogs didn't let FSU breathe much on its following drive either. BSU offense took the field and cashed in on the momentum. Senior running back Adam Gillis rushed 16 yards to the end zone to take a 14-0 lead with 8:49 left in the first quarter. After an exchange of punts, the Bulldogs were back on offense and driving to close out the first quarter. A bobble snap forced a 20-yard field goal attempt for BSU, but it was wide to the left to keep it at 14-0 with 12:49 left before the half. The Broncos executed a nice 15-play drive to take up over 7 minutes and got into the red zone, but a 3rd down sack forced a field goal attempt, which would go on to be denied by BSU's Tevin Singleton to keep the Broncos scoreless. With the 3rd quarter underway, it's getting colder by the second with the disappearing sun, so it was time for the crowd to get up and get active. It's a 2-score game and there was a lot of football left to play. BSU got a promising drive going after exchanging punts twice with 6:26 left in the 3rd quarter, but a lost fumble gave FSU the ball and some momentum. The Broncos found the end zone 7 plays later to cut the trail to 7 points. It's the final countdown, 4th quarter. Just under 9 minutes left now, and it's still a 1-score game. No pressure though. BSU's Johnson drove the Bulldogs down the field with the help of a 36-yarder to receiver Montez Clay to get into FSU territory. Wilkins moved the chain closer to set up senior kicker Gene Carson for a 29-yard field goal to push the Bulldogs' lead to 17-7. Just over 6 minutes left, the Broncos need a touchdown to stay alive. What they got was the complete opposite. BSU senior defensive back Wantez McCray grabbed the game-deciding interception and ran off almost into the end zone. A penalty brought some yards back, but still placed the Bulldogs in FSU territory and set them up to take the 23-7 lead and eventual victory.
Hey man, this history right here. This history, I swear to God, this history. Hard work, sweat, dedication, and brotherhood. Don't forget that brotherhood part, man. I'm telling you, we locked in early. We locked in last season. We locked in back in January when we was having winter workouts. Those my brothers right there, man. I'd die for all of them. Get down, get down.
BSU's Johnson finished with 90 passing yards and led all rushers with 127 yards and a touchdown. Sophomore defensive lineman Joshua Pryor was awarded BSU's Player of the Game and led the defensive performance with 10 total tackles and 3 sacks for 21 yards. The 11th ranked Bulldogs will be right back in action for their third consecutive NCAA D2 playoff appearance. BSU will host Carson Newman University on Saturday, November 23rd at a time to be announced.
With the win, Bowie State is now 11-0 and looking forward to the D2 playoffs and making a run for the national championship.
Now, pouring water on Coach Wilson was cold-blooded, man. I mean, literally. Let's go a little further south where it was maybe a little bit warmer, and Miles College taking on Albany State in the SIAC championship. Again, a repeat, but a new city.
SIAC Championship 2018. Albany State hosting Miles College. Winner gets the hardware. This game was a grinder. Maybe 3 yards in a cloud of dust if it wasn't so muddy, but definitely smash mouth football. That passing game, put it in your back pocket. Tip drill time, ASU with the interception. Miles knocking on touchdown's door. If at first you don't succeed, dust yourself off it. Well, you know the rest. Dante Edwards with our first points of the afternoon in the second quarter. That caps off a 15-play, 80-yard drive. Albany State with the field goal attempt. You know, I've always said if you hit the upright, you should get a point because that's harder than getting it through the uprights, but no one listens to me. A 7-0 ball game at the half in favor of Miles. Let's go to the third quarter. Edwards, again, this time from 7 yards out. 7 plays, 39 yards, 14-0 Miles. In the fourth, Albany State facing a crucial fourth down. They just go ahead and get the whole thing. Ralph Lovett with a 17-yard touchdown from Calais Williams. The extra point is no good. In order to have a chance, Albany State needs a stop. Late fourth quarter, they don't get it, and once again, Miles turns to Edwards. A 10-yard score. He had 105 rushing yards on the day, and Miles with back-to-back SIAC championships, 21-6 winner over Albany State.
So Division II football, their championships have been crowned at the conference level, but we still have more football to play because the Division II playoff brackets were revealed last Sunday, and now it is time to see who's in and who's out. We'll do that next. You're watching the No Huddle, brought to you by HBCU Game Day.
You're watching No Huddle on Aspire TV. For the latest news on Black college football and culture, go to HBCUGameDay.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Okay, who's in and who's out of the Division II postseason? Now, HBCUs don't always dominate there, but representation matters. So let's get right to it. Virginia State fans, I'm sorry, earned access is a term that often works against some teams, unless you're in the Gulf South Conference. Did I say that out loud? But listen, it's a 30-minute show. I can't explain all this, so go look it up. But great season, Virginia State. Only 2 losses. You didn't get in, but Miles College did. They did enough to squeeze in during the final week, and Miles at 9-2 will travel to North Carolina to take on an undefeated Lenoir-Rhyne. The champs from the CIAA, Bowie State, they're going to host a first-round game. Bowie at 11-0 will host an 8-2 Carson Newman squad. Now, if both teams win, both Bowie State and Miles, they'll play one another the following week. You know this. You know how it works. Come on, but I don't hate that because they play each other, and then that means one HBCU will win if we get that far. The Division I boys still have their season finale before we can go into playoff mode. In the MEAC, everyone is chasing North Carolina A&T. Bethune-Cookman was in Greensboro last weekend. A win would have given the Wildcats a leg up on first place. But the Aggies, they had other ideas. Our Wally Pitt was there, and he has more.
It was a cold, windy day in Greensboro, North Carolina, as Bethune-Cookman made the move north to try and take the MEAC reins out of the hands of the back-to-back champs. Both teams needing a bounce-back win after, shall we say, surprising losses, and this one was pretty much an elimination game as far as the Celebration Bowl bid was concerned, and the champs came out looking like they was about to stay the champs. Second Aggie play from scrimmage, Jameis Martin hit the SpongeBob meme, like, alright, I'ma head out. 66 yards, 7 points, some love from the big homie on the sidelines, and A&T jumps out the gate early. Bethune-Cookman looking to get back right, but this ain't the way. Akevius Williams with the backwards pass, Joseph Stuckey recovers it, gets down to the BCU 14, and the Aggies are ready to get back to work. And it was time to board the Jermaine train once again. 4 yards, another touchdown for Martin, and it's 14-0 Aggies. And as you can see, A&T was about that ground and pound like a UFC fight. This time it was the big dog, fullback William Simpson, straight through the teeth of the Wildcat defense like a piece of floss. Let's make the score 20-0, and it was looking like Bethune might need to pass the sticks, but they did finally get some offense going. Jimmy Robinson bounces outside for 20. Then on 3rd and 9, Akevius Williams keeps the drive going with a 13-yard pass to Teron Mallard. Wildcats worked their way down to the 1-yard line where Ladarian Wilson was not going to be stopped from crossing the goal line. Wildcats showing some fight late in the half. They added another 3 points before the break and going to halftime down only 20-10. It was an all-star halftime show as the blue and gold marching machine was joined by high school bands from all across the state. That video is up on our Facebook page, so I'm going to stick to sports and jump right into this second half. Now the boy Kashawn Baker got more cuts than a butcher and will dust you like mama on a Saturday morning. He gets the pass from Jalen Fowler and takes it 36 yards to pay dirt, 26-10, Aggies strike first in the second half. Now the wind was out here slapping, and it was not a great day to be throwing the football. But when you got Elijah Bell and a good lead, you can go ahead and let that thing fly. And 1-3 made an adjustment on this ball and gets the 31-yard snag while falling down. Then he gets wide open on a play action for a 22-yard touchdown from Jalen Fowler. 33-10, Wildcats in trouble, Aggies up big in the fourth quarter. But Bethune won't about to go outside. They decide to start throwing the ball downfield too. And Akevius Williams connects with Stephon Francois over the shoulder for 45 yards. The very next play, Akevius Williams going for self, 9 yards, 7 points, 33-17. Wildcats still got a mountain to climb, but that one made it a little bit easier. But this one did not. Jermaine Martin, 120 yards and 3 touchdowns on the day. This score gives him the single season touchdown record for A&T, and Elijah Bell was quick to turn him up on the sideline.
New record holder right here. Let's go. Big Mac.
One more touchdown from Kashawn Baker made the final score 47-17, an entire mollywop by the Aggies, who need to do the same to NCCU in the Aggie Eagle Classic next week. Then it's off to the Celebration Bowl for A&T.
So today's action pits South Carolina State versus Norfolk State. That game is in Norfolk. The Bulldogs are tied with A&T. Both teams are 5-2 in the MEAC, but A&T owns that head-to-head matchup. So South Carolina State needs the Aggies to lose today in Greensboro versus North Carolina Central. It is the Aggie Eagle Classic, and we all know anything can happen no matter the record. Central might be due for a win. What do you think? I don't know. But if the Aggies win, they are in the Celebration Bowl. If the Aggies lose and South Carolina State loses, the Aggies are still in. Should South Carolina State win and the Aggies lose, are you keeping up at home? Then the Bulldogs will be headed to the Celebration Bowl. We could very well, because it is the MEAC, have 4 teams in the MEAC at the top at 5-3, but North Carolina A&T owns the tiebreaker over the other 3 contenders because they beat them all head-to-head. So, who will it be on the other side of the field at the Celebration Bowl? Well, the SWAC has some contenders. I think we've pretty much eliminated the pretenders. We'll talk about that when we return.
You're watching No Huddle on Aspire TV. For the latest news on Black college football and culture, go to HBCUGameDay.com.
Well, the Boombox Classic or the Battle of the Blue or whatever they call it, I like Boombox personally. That went down last weekend. Jackson State wasn't able to give it to Southern, so their record still looking pretty good. And it's all good, though, if you like competition, because Grambling State continues to roll on. Let's take a look at last weekend's scores and see how that affects the standings in the SWAC. In the East, it's a wrap, man. Alcorn State won the division once again after a close win against Alabama A&M, which means Alcorn advances to the SWAC championship yet again. If you put money on Alabama State to beat the spread against Florida State, well, you won that. I don't know how that whole betting thing works, but yeah, under, over, good job. You won there. Jackson State fell against Southern, as we said, but we were all winners if we got a chance to see the halftime show between the Sonic Boom of the South and the Human Jukebox. Let's head over to our HBCU Game Day Facebook page. If you'd like to see that in its full glory, we'll have that for you there. The win streak continues for Grambling, and Prairie View had an easy out-of-conference win. So out west, Southern still the top dog with a 5-1 conference record. Grambling is one game back with a 4-2 conference record. So both teams off until they get to the Bayou over Thanksgiving. Whoever wins that game will go to the SWAC championship because it will come down to a head-to-head matchup in the regular season finale. That's what we like. A berth to the Celebration Bowl will be on the line for whoever makes it to the SWAC championship. All righty then, before we go, we are going to talk more about those Rattlers. Are they the best team in all of HBCU football? Talks amongst yourselves during the break, and we'll be right back to discuss. You're watching the No Huddle, brought to you by HBCU Game Day.
You're watching No Huddle on Aspire TV. For the latest news on Black college football and culture, go to HBCUGameDay.com.
Well, there's a lot of good football being played out there this year, but arguably none better than the FAMU Rattlers. The only problem, small little caveat here, they are ineligible for any postseason play this year. But that does not mean they aren't still kicking butt, taking names, and having a good time doing it. Corey Staples has more from a very, what shall we call it, interesting weekend in Tallahassee.
Corey Staples live from Bragg Memorial Stadium, where the Rattlers have continued their undefeated march in the FCS with just one game remaining going into the highly anticipated Florida Classic.
But hold up, before we get into what happened at the game, the Rattlers are showing a little extra swag as CNN HLN did their morning show live from campus on Friday. This was the first time the Tailgate Series was ever on the campus of an HBCU, and you know the cheerleaders in the Marching 100 had to get things jumping.
Quarter, the Rattlers got on the board first with a Yahia Ali 46-yard field goal. In the second quarter, the FAMU scoring continued with an Azinde Ray 2-yard run. Just minutes later, Ryan Stanley connects to X-Man Xavier Smith for an 18-yard pass to put the Rattlers up 17-0. Starting the second half, the Rattlers strike again with a 25-yard run from Bishop Bonnet. But the scoring surge didn't stop there. With 6 minutes and 42 seconds left in the third quarter, Terrell Jennings powers into the end zone for a 3-yard run. That's when Coach Willie Simmons emptied the bench and reserve Rashawn McKay connected to Azinde Ray with a 22-yard pass to put the Rattlers up 39-0. The Bison avoided a shutout, however, with a 4-yard run from Josiah Crute. It's your second year here, and your team is 9-1. Did you expect such success so fast?
Well, when I first took the job in our first team meeting, I told the guys that we win when everyone buys in. And I didn't give them a timetable on when that would be. Fortunately for us, it's happened in less than 2 years. And so this team is completely bought into what we're trying to build here, focusing on little things, being accountable to one another, playing this game with a passion that it takes to be successful, and really loving Florida A&M and everything about it. And I think that's why we've seen the success that we've had on the field this year.
Gotcha. And so the Florida Classic is coming up. FAMU hasn't beat Bethune since 2010. Do you feel any pressure going into the game?
Well, obviously, we're going to take it the same way we're taking every game, and that means our preparation starts, tomorrow. And we'll have to win the game. Like I told the team, the game will be played on Saturday, but it'll be won Sunday through Friday with our preparation, how we approach the game, really getting to know these guys as a coaching staff, giving our players a great game plan to go in and be successful as players, really digesting that game plan and working it every day to be as perfect as we can be come Saturday. And so if we do that, we feel like we have the talent, we feel like we have the momentum to be able to go in and win the game and finish the season out the right way.
Your team has gone undefeated in Bragg Memorial. What does it feel like to defend that home turf?
Well, that's where it starts. You know, we have the best fan base in America. They come out every Saturday to support this football team. When I took the job, we were committed to bringing more games to Bragg Memorial Stadium, and to have 6 games here and to win all 6 really shows this team's character. It shows their resolve. And again, it's something that we want to continue to build. We want to have the type of streak that Miami had back in the day when everyone knew coming into their stadium that they weren't going to win. And that's the type of tradition we want to bring back here because that's the way it was a long time ago. And our goal is to bring those glory days back.
After the game, as if Ryan Stanley hadn't done enough during the game, he and Shotgun Simmons went up in the stands to help direct the world-famous Marching 100. They were good, but Dr. Shelby Chipman's job is safe. Then things really got live in the locker room as FAMU All-America punter Chris Huddle made a promise to the team before the season. He said if the Rattlers won the MEAC, he would shave his head. So
Next stop for the Rattlers, Orlando, in Camping World Stadium to face arch rival Bethune-Cookman in the Florida Blue Florida Classic.
HBCU champs, natural rival, all right? And all that comes down to this weekend, all right? So, hey, we know what's at stake. This will be the last time we talk about it. From this point on, we put our head down and we go to work.
Okay, everyone, that's going to do it for the No Huddle. I'm Tali Carr on behalf of the entire crew. Thank you so much for joining us each and every week. We are getting closer and closer to a champion being crowned a national black college football champion. A couple of weeks away, but we're getting there. Thanks for hanging out with us. Check us out all week long at hbcugameday.com and follow us on social media. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you later.
You're watching No Huddle on Aspire TV. For the latest news on black college football and culture, go to hbcugameday.com.